My name's Cody Smith.
I'm Tierra Penner.
Hi there, I'm Tim Ocampo.
And the three of us are the hosts of the Last Podbender.
This is episode 3 of The Last Podbender.
Woo woo! Oh, voice crack. please. No, I was kidding. We're all over it.
In this episode, we will be discussing Avatar: The Last Airbender, Book 1, Episode 3, The Southern Air Temple, which is a very sad episode, in which Aang finds out he is in fact the last Airbender. They find Momo, and Zuko does a whole Agni Kai thing with General Zhao.
General Zhao.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And, Last Airbender, name of the show. So it's not really surprising that you find out that Aang's the last Airbender, I'm just saying. But
he's
nobody,
surprised.
Katara and Sokka be like, nobody tell Aang the title of our show right now.
Too meta. Anyways, my name's Cody Smith.
I'm Tierra Penner.
And I'm Tim Ocampo.
And we are going to delve deep into the third episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Woo-woo.
So I had some thoughts.
What are your thoughts?
It's good that we're doing a podcast then.
Yeah. The first thought I had was it's really sad how much of a mom role that Katara takes on. Like, she is instantly like, we can't let Aang know, we have to protect him, and she's very, very much like trying to protect him. And like, I know friends and stuff do that, but just the way that she acts in this episode feels very much like she's taking on that mom role. And I think that that's probably remnant of like how her and Sokka grew up, and it was, I don't know, for me it was sad to see how much of her childhood she lost.
Mm-hmm. And how old is she at this point again?
I think she's like 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually kind of weird because you see, it's not weird, but you see how the way Katara treats Aang progresses throughout the series. I feel like, again, in the beginning of this series, Katara very much treats Aang like a child. And it's all, because he's 12. How else would you treat a 12-year-old, like, so.
But I do think also at the beginning of the series, Aang acts like a child.
Oh, yeah, definitely, 100%. We talked about that in, like, some of the past episodes, that Aang is very childlike in this first, probably book, of the whole series, I would say. And that's the cool thing about this series, is you get to see all these characters progress, and they do progress in very drastic ways, I think. So.
Yeah, another the way that the characters progress is this whole episode Sokka complains about being hungry.
That's not new.
And no, but in later episodes, he just goes out and finds food. Like, I'm always surprised with food that he finds. He's like, I found these nuts. And I'm like, where did you find them? You just left and you came back with food.
Guys, try this cactus juice. It's the quenchiest. All right, Sokka. All right.
I think that, it's kind of neat that you see, this is like the first time that you see Sokka's obsession with food.
It's very much a prevalent theme throughout.
Amen.
Yeah.
Something that I found interesting. Okay, so we know Aang is an airbender. We know that he loves flying around in his glider in high speeds. He loves going at high speeds, yeah? Penguin sledding, air gliding, jumping off of random things, knowing he could catch himself. What was funny is that when we see him and Sokka go on a chase after Momo, he dives off the little balcony. Sokka says, hey, that's not fair. And you actually see Aang's eyes water, and he's smiling, and it's great. Like, first watch, you'd be like, oh yeah, he's just going really fast. If I was skydiving or whatever, I would probably tear up and cry. But I think I'm wondering if it's just a little bit of that like subconscious sorrow of like, wow, this is a really bad situation. My home is not as I left it. Everything has changed drastically, and the people I love could have been in danger. So I'm wondering if that's why he was tearing up, actually. Because like, I don't know, high-speed air? Like, that's his whole shtick. Why would you be crying about that, Aang? Why are you crying?
Yeah,
I
you,
actually-
you literally never see him tear up at any other point when he's doing stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
I can see that point, but I took it as like the opposite. Like I took like this is a very, very sad episode.
Yeah.
And so I think for me it was the creators trying to like put something funny in. And like they do have the whole chase scene with Momo, and the whole Momo thing is very funny. And they put in these very funny moments. Like, and it's
Sokka was ready to crack some ankles.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like, let me eat this lemur.
It was like, it was very juxtaposed against the very sad scene. And so like it could very well be that it was like kind of like that subconscious,
Maybe
like,
tears of
Toro.
joy too, even maybe.
Yeah, because like he was having fun and stuff, but like yeah, it was just like I think that they wanted to create that very intense one moment to the next.
Yeah. I mean, it is a very interesting episode, and it kind of, at least it left me kind of wondering, is Aang like willfully delusional? You know what I mean?
Wow, yeah.
Like, does he actually kind of like, he knows deep down that, he is the last airbender? Because, Sokka and Katara have been telling him probably on the whole journey, they're telling him, don't get your hopes up, don't get your hopes up.
Yeah.
But it almost seems like he's like willfully delusional. Maybe it's just, again, going back to him being a child. But
Yeah.
It might be also because Aang and Katara, like from Aang's point of view, Sokka and Katara have never seen the power of the airbenders. So for him, it might just be like, obviously they're still around because why wouldn't they be? They were powerful and hidden and
yeah.
He was able to see the airbenders at the very best. So it must be so strange for him to even imagine that, like, oh, what do you mean a complete genocide of my people? That sounds like, sounds ridiculous if someone just told me that, like, oh, hey, all your family's dead. It's like, you're whack. But, but it's been 100 years though, so you gotta do that math. That math probably affects some things.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we do actually see how powerful the airbenders are too in like kind of real time when near the end of the episode when we see Aang's mentor,
Yeah, Gyatso.
Gyatso, but he's surrounded by just countless bodies of firebenders.
Yeah.
It's him, and there's like 20 corpses of firebenders.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Gyatso went down a thug.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So the thing I thought about that scene was like, absolutely, like Gyatso was incredibly powerful, but also part of the reason perhaps that the monks were killed off is that did they not have like this very deep ingrained policy of peace
And like
and
non-violent.
non-violence?
All life is sacred.
Yeah. So like I don't see them like killing firebenders, and I think that speaks to like Monk Gyatso's like
Will to
character
survive.
and like will. Yeah, I think is like yes, like he does have these principles, but he thinks that his life is also sacred.
I feel like if the airbenders and the air nomads were under attack by the Fire Nation, they would fight back. I feel like it's
think
like
that
they're
they
very like non-combative until you come at them,
I think that there would be definitely some factions that are like, no, we will not kill, not for anything.
What's so interesting is Gyatso has, I think, it's kind of been demonstrated that Gyatso has always been a little bit of a rule breaker in just such subtle ways, from from the pranks to the, I guess, the connection he has with Aang, and I'm not sure, did this flashback already happen of where when Aang ran away, Gyatso was like, oh no, Aang, I'm not gonna let them take you away from me.
No.
No.
Oh, my
That's
bad.
future episodes.
That's future episode, yeah.
Cut
Yeah.
that in post, Cody, please. Thank you. But yeah, so I think we got a little bit of a little taste that he's a rule breaker. But what I found so interesting, at least how I interpreted that whole scene, I don't think that like Gyatso just went up like, okay, motherfuckers, you walked into the wrong room. I don't think he did that with intention of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna kill you because you're on my turf, and like I'm just gonna be bloodthirsty. I think, I'm not sure if it was in other posts I've read that he did it more so to allow other people to escape, because that was a lot of And I don't think this is like a game where like in Assassin's Creed where you kill one thing and drag into a very specific room. I think he caught the attention of a large amount of the troops and just so that other people wouldn't have to suffer their wrath, and then did what he had to do. At least that's my perspective on it.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to look at it, because like personally I think that like some of them might fight back, but just because they're so like such like a non-violent philosophy,
non-militaristic society,
that I don't think that the vast majority of them would want to fight or kill people, and so that him doing that so that they could escape makes a lot of sense.
See, I think that yes, that makes sense, and they would do that if the Fire Nation was there to capture them, enslave them. It would be protesting through nonviolence. But I feel like as soon as the Fire Nation comes in and kills that first person, just like in cold blood, I don't think you're just going to sit around and be like, okay, no, we're still not going to fight you. That's just my opinion on that.
But also, like, the Fire Nation is trained in military tactics, and the Air Nation is not.
Yeah, I know.
And I think at least the Southern Air Temple, we did see in Aang's flashbacks, it was filled with a lot of kids. A lot of people who were around his age or younger, and a lot of really old ones. Like, I didn't see any in between the age
like
gaps.
It's
like you gotta be hella old or just like
Yeah.
learning to grow like facial hair.
And I think in all the flashbacks, it's like that. They're either like very wizened old men or they're like young children who are just learning the like basics of airbending and stuff. The one thing that I kind of picked up is, you know, Aang says, he's like, the only way that you can get here is if you have a flying bison. So how the hell did the Fire Nation get so many troops up there that they were able to like wipe out?
I wanna know.
Like, we do know, like, later on that they developed, like, flying technology.
Yeah.
But
that's
maybe-
specifically from that one episode that happens,
No, I
right?
know, but like that's like advanced flying technology. Perhaps they did have some sort of flying technology, or they had like some people climb up the rocks and do like a pulley system or something like that.
Guys, 100 years ago, Sozin's Comet. They could have just been like, oh wow,
super powerful.
Gyatso went after Gyatso 1v20'd how like 1v20'd Firebender during Sozin's Comet. That's the implication. That would probably be the implication, right?
Yeah, because when they were very powerful, they could just like, I don't know, like flame jet themselves up or something.
Maybe, I'm wondering. But then again, like how we know that there are 4 air nomad temples, north, west, east, and south. So I'm wondering, like, if they were all destroyed during Sozin's Comet.
That would make sense.
Because that's, like, a lot of... Because Sozin's Comet, like, lasts, like, maybe, like, a day or less then.
But, like, the guy... I don't remember the Fire Nation leader's name, but I do remember that he was very intent and he had a militaristic plan specifically for when Sozin's Comet came. So he could have had troops, like,
set everything up. Yeah. What a bully.
That's the Fire Nation in general. It is kind of interesting because in this episode we also get the first kind of real look at what the Fire Nation kind of looks like. They pull into the harbor. Zuko and Iroh pull into the harbor, and it's all metal ships and very like post-industrial type thing. So it's kind of neat in that regards.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Agni Kai for a sec, because that was really cool, and
It was,
you kind of really to me it showed that, like, yes, Zuko has a lot of work to become a master, but when he listens to Iroh, he wins.
Well, it like really showcases his potential and his power, right? And just for those who maybe don't remember or don't know what an Agni Kai is, it's basically one-on-one combat.
Yeah.
So, like, ritualized one-on-one combat.
Yeah, and, like, for the first little while, Zuko was losing, and Iroh just kept, like, shouting at him, like, break this guy's root, break his stance, like, and then...
Get back to the basics.
Yeah, when Zuko finally listened to Iroh, then he started winning, but before that, he was just, like, relying on his rage, and it wasn't enough.
What I find so interesting about that... Well, okay, let me start this with a roast, but it's like... I like to thought of like Iroh, like, yeah, use the basics, like trust in your basics and everything, because he doesn't need anything else to take on Zhao, and he knows it. So it's like, you don't need no advanced technique. Save that for someone who's worthy. I don't know. I think that's funny. And even while I think what Iroh was really, or a part of what Iroh was communicating was that just remember remember the basics of combat, like break the root so you could gain advantage. And I find that like so interesting that Zuko was able to take the concept and then modernize it in some way, or to make it applicable for his situation. When he really started to shine and turn the tides of battle, he was actually on his back, about to receive a strike, and then he pulls out this crazy b-boy move. I can't imagine.
I love the b-boy firebending.
I love me some b-boy firebending. I can't imagine like Iroh doing that in this bar. I was like, oh yeah, just like, oh, by the way, windmill. So that wasn't necessary. That move did not look basic at all. First of all, Iroh, cool. But I think the mentality of the basics of combat, like remember, break his root. And then he did in a way that no one saw coming, which is, I think, a mark of a master, to take something that's been done before and find new applications and methods to approach a situation. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. And we also get to see like a little bit, we get a taste of like Iroh's true power, right? Because like when Zuko does defeat General Zhao, and he's like, you know, he goes to attack Zuko when his back is turned, and then Iroh steps in and just stops it at all and just tosses him like nothing.
So that toss, I got so excited when I saw that toss, because that toss looked so much like an earthbending move, and you
So
learn
grounded,
later that Iroh's taken moves and principles from all of the different nations and making them his own, and I was just like, that's an earthbending move.
It is kind of interesting when you look at Zuko's fighting style versus Iroh's fighting style. Like Zuko's is very like b-boy, flippy, agile, where Iroh is like solid, grounded, like solid stances, like very just like solid. That's the
grounded. So grounded.
Yeah.
And Iroh, like, I know you see Zuko deflecting a lot of attacks, but Iroh almost seems to like turn people's attacks on themselves.
Yeah, he seems like
He consumed the fire coming from Zhao's foot, grabbed his foot and just like tossed him aside. I said, your root is broken, bitch. And it was like, yeah, don't get up.
Yeah. And I love that they also like they disguise Iroh's true power. They make him like kind
so
of this
clumsy.
this bumbling kind of old man who doesn't know what's going on.
Oh my
But he
God.
knows everything that's going on. He's the best character in this entire show.
And Toph. But.
Yeah, and Toph. We'll meet later. But like Iroh, Toph, Appa, top 3 right there.
Yeah, but like also I love that Iroh just like hides compliments in the things he says. He's like, oh yeah, he's more he like says these things to Zhao, right? And he's like, oh, Zuko has more honor in his like exile than you do in your life. And then he walks away and Zuko's like, oh, did you mean that? And then also Iroh mentions the tea, and he's like, oh, did you mean it? He's like, yeah, I love tea.
I love ginseng.
And it's like, Iroh, we know that you're proud of your nephew. We know.
Yeah. I think that's so like that just as a character moment, and you kind of see the softness from Zuko afterward once Iroh addresses that Zuko has honor in this moment. Zuko just softened up so much. It was like, Uncle, did you mean that? Like, there's such sincerity to it. And then, of course, Iroh just deflected with humor. It was like, okay. It's like, I'm not going to coddle him right now. I guess that's what Iroh was thinking. But
it's also like a totally like guy thing to do. You know what I mean?
Like, oh, yes, the tea was very good.
I was like, I'm not trying to cry in front of Zhao right now, Zuko, so just like, hold on.
But it is very interesting because yes, it's like the one soft spot that Zuko has for a while is his uncle Iroh. You know, like he will rage and he's ruthless with everybody else, but you touch Iroh or like he's looking for like he seeks the approval from his uncle. You know, he doesn't want to disappoint his uncle because it's the father that he kind of really never had, or you know, he did have, but again,
He didn't count.
Yeah, no, that guy was a dick.
What I found so fascinating, because just like even how early, like how full circle, like he has a long way to go, Zuko, but just how full circle of him, quotation marks, losing his honor from the last Agni Kai he had, and then him leaving it with a lot more than a high-ranking general in the army. And I think that's so poetic. I'm getting shivers just thinking about that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think like Zuko's character really grew in this episode, and we don't like get to see a lot of it, but at the beginning of the episode when he was greeted by General Zhao, and
he was a spoiled brat at that point.
Yeah.
Like, he was being his bratty self.
And
like,
Iroh was like, excuse me, like, you need to respect this person. And you see, like, little flames come off Zuko's fist. And he's like, oh, I don't want to respect this man.
yeah.
And, like, you see him, he, like, destroys a table. And he's like, no, I challenge you to Agni Kai. And he's just, like, this, like, bratty rage, right? And then, like, afterwards, like you said, he, like, really softened up. He's like, okay, I've proven myself now, and so I can, like, let go of some of my anger, maybe.
Yeah. He leaves with dignity.
Yeah.
I mean, even since the first watch through, I knew that Zuko was going to be a good guy. Like, I said it the entire time we were watching it.
He did.
I think within, like, the third episode, like, he's going to be a good guy. Like,
I was like, what are you talking about? He's a little bitch right now. And you're like, he's going to be good, though.
he's going to redeem himself, obviously. Like, yeah.
9-year-old me did not perceive this at the time.
Yeah. Well, you have to remember, the first time I watched it, I was 29, so...
Word. You got 20 years on
20
your
years.
first watch.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think that the way that we see kind of Zuko's softness a little bit, we also see that within Sokka when he's addressing Aang at the air temple, when he's like, yo, we're your family now, bro. Like, you know, we got you. Like, this is, we're going to watch your back, basically.
I do like that when Katara is trying to talk Aang down, she's like, all like, we know what it's like to lose a family member, we know what it's like to lose family, and then she looks at Sokka and she's like, we're your family now, as if she's like looking to him to say like, hey, I'ma say this, you cool with this?
Yeah.
And like Sokka just is like totally like, yes, amazing, instantly he's like, yes, of course we're your family.
Yeah. I love I think that's just so reflective of their culture and their upbringing, just like this intuition for connection and community. Like, I think when Sokka was knocked out of the court for airball, I don't think that's what it was called. I'm so sorry.
I think it is called airball.
Okay, cool. Avatar fans, don't roast me right now. Don't at me. But when he found that helmet, they just exchanged a look between, I guess, Sokka and Katara of like, oh no, I think it was even before that. I don't know. Sometime before that, Aang mentioned something, and then they just exchanged a silent look between each other, as if to like, I don't know, as if to like soften the blow or prepare to like comfort Aang. And like, I just like expanding on what you said, it's just like they just have such a silent, intuitive understanding to be there for the people that they care about. And I think that's beautiful. And it's at the end of the episode that silent intuitive connection is able to be spoken out loud and shared with Aang, because he's coming from a different culture as well. So
Yeah.
it's so cool that
I think it's really beautiful that Katara can vocalize that when Sokka can't. Like, that's not maybe
Yet.
part of who he is right now.
yeah.
Right? So he's like trying his best to be buds with Aang, and he plays airball and he gets hurt, and he's like, oh man, trying to save Aang's, or trying to make Aang have fun is like really hurting me.
Yeah.
But like, he's trying, and that's
Yeah.
his way of showing that him and Aang are brothers, are family, right? And so for Katara to put that into words, especially like what you said, like Aang is coming from a completely different culture.
Yeah.
Right? And so like for them to like vocalize that when maybe they don't generally vocalize stuff like that is like big.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. And I think also in this episode we learned for the first time that Zuko was actually banished.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time that it's actually mentioned. That,
And we learned that he was banished at 14.
yeah.
Wow.
Which is crazy to see that he's only 14. And we also
No,
learned...
he's 16 here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right, because he's been searching for the Avatar for 2 years.
Yeah.
I think it might have even been 13 when he got banished.
Oh, really?
We'll have to... Okay, Avatar fans, don't add us. Hold up.
But, like, there's a lot of other cool things that happened in this episode. Like, when I found it really cool that each kind of nation has its own way of kind of detecting the Avatar. Like, you have,
Yeah,
like,
that was cool. I
like
was
when-
like, I didn't remember that. I was in awe.
Yeah, when like Aang goes into the Avatar state at the end because his like emotions, he sees the corpse of his mentor and his friend, and it sends them into the Avatar state, and you see the air temple, and you see all the statues that they found, all their eyes light up, and then you see, like, I think it's maybe the earth, where the painting and all their eyes are lighting up, and then you see the water tribe, and then you see the Fire Nation temple and stuff, and it's all cool that they all have this way to detect, like, when the Avatar has returned.
That, like, the Avatar is, like, interwoven into all of their spiritualities in some way, no matter
and
what
all
nation
of their
you're from.
cultures too, right? Like
Yeah.
it's you see, like, like what Cody was saying, like they all have different ways, and like there was statues, there was paintings, there was different things, but it's woven into their culture, and like the fact that it's just like so deeply rooted, but yet it's been missing from all of their cultures for 100 years. Like no wonder Sokka was like, you know the part, right? Like Sokka is like, oh, you don't actually believe that
What
stuff,
do you mean
right,
reincarnation?
Katara?
Yeah.
And like, because it's been 100 years, that's what, like 3 generations?
Yeah, about.
Yeah.
So like that's a long time to like not have any proof and still believe in something.
Yeah, for sure. And like, we also, there goes the thought.
Oh, here it is, Cody. You got it? Yeah.
Nope. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Power of friendship.
We also actually find out for the first time that the Avatar reincarnates through the tribes and in the same order each time.
Yeah.
So, you know, it goes, what is it? It's air, water, earth, fire. Air, water, earth, fire, air, and that's how the Avatar reincarnates.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like how it's also stated a part of lore. I don't know if it actually like physically works this way or not, but like how like Aang is tasked to learn them in that order as well. So him being born an air nomad, then he needs to master his native one, then it would be water, then earth, and fire. I'm not sure like how much of that is just cultural expectation or actual like physical and spiritual capacity. So it's so interesting.
I think that it is that way for I think I read something, don't quote me on this, but like I think I read, so like he's air, so it's very much about moving within people's attacks and like moving within, and water is about deflecting, so it's very similar to air, easy to learn, right? Then the next he learns earth, which is grounding, and you need that grounding to learn fire.
I feel like yeah, and also like if you kind of like say you put them all in a circle, right, and you put air at the top, and then you put water off to the right, earth would be the opposite of air, right? So it makes sense that you would learn that kind of like, and then it would be like, you know, water and fire would obviously be opposites as well. So it's like, but
So like even if like say the Avatar was an earthbender, then the next element they would learn would be fire, but they already have that grounded, so learning fire is not hard for them, and then they learn the opposite of it, which is air, and then they would learn water.
yeah,
That's so fascinating.
And like if you actually really think about it, like air is flowy like water would be, but you would need the air kind of movements, I feel, before you could like master water, right? Because like air is doing what you would do with water, but water is a physical solid thing, whereas air is air, obviously.
So everywhere,
And then also if like if the Avatar was a waterbender, like growing up with that element, it would be really hard to all of a sudden manipulate nothing but still be manipulating things. So I think that's why it's the last one that a waterbender Avatar would learn.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fascinating. And just thinking about it too, because like going from air, it's not really anything of substance, and then moving towards water, it's like it could take 3 different forms, like gas, liquid, and solid, and that almost transitions towards earth, like being able to go to whoa sorry.
Actually, that is cool because air, and then say you learn water like as a gas first, and then you turn it into a liquid, and then you finally turn it into ice. That transitions perfectly into earth. And then fire is this like ethereal hot thing that is kind of like air but hot. It's like the most extreme version of air, right?
Yeah.
And then I like what you're saying about like the groundedness of earthbending being used in the stances for a lot of the firebending too.
Because like we see what happens when Aang doesn't follow how he's supposed to learn the elements, right? Like we see him learn fire, and we see him be too silly with it. He doesn't have that seriousness, that seriousness, that grounded that comes from earthbending, right? And he hurts people that he loves by accident because he doesn't have the right mental attitude to go at it.
Yeah. I would also just like to, it's something that I noticed when we were watching, I would just like to give my appreciation for the bending doors that we see throughout the series.
Oh my god, they're amazing.
I love all of them because they're all so neat and cool. So we see for the first time a door that you can only open with airbending, and Aang does his thing and it fucking flips all these things and it shoots out horns and it opens this door and it's cool. And we see in later episodes that the fire doors and I love them. It reminds me so much of like Zelda.
Yeah. So, do you guys have any last thoughts on this episode?
I'm gonna be a simp for a little bit, but like, can we shout out like the voice acting for just the voice direction and also the casting for the voice acting? I'm just really liking it. Like, I know I don't like Zhao. Like, Zhao is very mean. He's a meanie. And but like the person they used to cast him, like his voice, like he could just read anything. It would make it so interesting. It would be like have his voice as like your vocal or your computer assistant. Like, oh, how does he talk? Like, it's kind of like Zuko, yeah. Your Amazon package has arrived. Turn left at the next intersection. I don't know. I don't know why, but I'm really liking Zhao's voice this time around, and also I'm paying attention to Gyatso too. It's just like fun and flowy. Aang, let us throw some pies on people's face. I know like the stereotype is like an angel and a devil on your shoulder, but I kind of want a Zhao and a Gyatso on my shoulder. So I think that'd be really fun. I don't know what advice they would give. Gyatso's supposed to be the good one, but I could probably hear him say like, yes, kill them all. Do it for the air nomad. Like, oh man, I'm just confused. But yeah, that was just my silly little thought.
Yeah. Honestly, we also see Momo for the first time. And Momo's a cool character throughout. He's just kind of slight comic relief. And
I forgot that Momo brought them food, and I wonder if Momo is smarter than what we give him credit for a lot of the time. Because how would he understand that they wanted food except for that Sokka was yelling food every 3 seconds? Right?
Yeah, it's so strange. There's like no other humans to socialize with.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So I wonder if he's a little bit smarter than we give him credit for.
But do you remember there's going to be a future episode where Katara...
Oh yeah, where they're like, he's sending... I think
more water.
I think that's more of like a plot
Yeah.
thing at that point, because Momo does bring them things a lot of the time.
Momo's clutch. Like, I think he's probably more intuitive than smart, probably.
But like he like grabs that like waterbending scroll with that big fight.
True.
Right?
True.
Like, I don't know.
I think that maybe we might be attributing too much like thought into the character of Momo, because I think he's just there to like do like
comic relief.
Well, not just comic relief, but just to resolve issues in a way, right? It's like so it's like, oh, we just have Momo go grab it.
he's a plot device.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe he is. Maybe the writers and the creators of Avatar actually intended for him to be, maybe, it's like the Darth Jar Jar theory applied to Momo. Momo is actually like the whole, like he is the Aang's teacher in like the deepest sense of the word.
Have you guys heard that theory? The Gyatso Momo theory?
No.
That
Gyatso reincarnated.
That Momo is a Gyatso reincarnation.
See, Darth Jar Jar. Except good. Like
so good. That'd be so beautiful and tragic at the same time. But yeah, but it's funny because like you see Gyatso, he's playing with fruits, and how does the episode end? Momo playing with fruits and sharing it. So
oh shit.
I think there's more. I'm sure there's a proper theory out there that I probably glanced over instead of, but not properly remembered. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Cool. Well, I think we've successfully dissected another episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of The Last Podbender, possibly one of the only review shows that is actually longer than the actual episode itself. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm really excited for the next episode, The Warriors of Kyoshi.
Oh my gosh.
That's
me
a good
too.
one.
Yeah.
I love them.
Stay hot people.
My cabbages.
I'm Cody Smith.
I'm Tierra Penner.
I'm Tim Ocampo.
And again, thank you very much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you liked this episode of the podcast, why not leave a review? Whether you're listening on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, whatever podcatcher you may be listening on, ratings and reviews are huge. They help us to break through those evil algorithms, and it will help us to reach the most amount of glorious Avatar fans that we can possibly reach. If you would like up-to-date information regarding this podcast, follow us on Instagram. You can find us at the.last.podbender on Instagram. If you would like more information about all of the shows that Froggy Style Productions produces, including this one, follow them on social media, and you can find them at Froggy Style Productions on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For more ways in which you can support the show, visit fsproductions.ca.